Hi there, all my crafty friends. I'm back from my little break, refreshed and ready to go. Kitchen risers seem to be pretty popular right now, so I thought I'd jump in and do one as well. I'll have a beautiful decoupage picture along with some really cool metal trim, and we'll make a sign out of clay that looks just like tin. So if you're ready, let's make a mess. This set of 3 wooden trays came from DecoupageNapkins.com. They have a really nice stock of wooden pieces, but I'm going to tell you all about them in just a little bit. I'm using the largest one to make a kitchen riser. The first thing I'm going to do is give it a quick sanding. Although it doesn't really need it, this piece is pre-sanded and ready to go. That's a nice plus. When I get wood pieces from Dollar Tree, they are pretty raw and need tons of prep work. I'm adding a base coat of vintage white paint, and I'll let the paint dry for about 30 minutes. I'm going to use some dowel toppers for the legs. I'm gluing one in each corner on the bottom of the tray using some wood glue. I wiped off any glue that oozed out from between the tray and the leg. I let the glue set up for about an hour and then painted the bottom and the leg. Once that paint dried, I gave it a light sanding on the edges with a fine grit sandpaper, just to make sure I had a nice smooth surface to work with. I'm going to add some wood grain with a couple different brown colors. I'm starting off with a medium brown. I watered down the paint in a small bowl. I want it runny so it doesn't give me full coverage. I'm going to use a very stiff brush that had a very uneven edge. This will give me some good wood grain. I'm painting it on very lightly so it doesn't give full coverage. I want to see the vintage white paint through the brown. I did this everywhere except the very top because that's where I'm going to add my rice paper. It's always best to have a light color under your decoupaged images. Dark colored backgrounds will show through your image and make them look muddy. However, if you want to decoupage a napkin on a dark surface, I have developed a technique to do that. You can click the link above in the right-hand corner to see that video. I'll also leave you a link in my description box below. All the products and tools I use and recommend in my videos have been tested by me. I won't suggest something that I haven't used myself. Each product will be listed in my description box below, and will have a blue link to make it easy for you to find. Any of the links I provide are safe for you to click on. I did paint a little of the brown along the right and left side of the top. The rice paper is just slightly smaller than the wood piece, so I don't want to leave that white. Now I'm doing the exact same thing with a dark brown paint. This will add some different tones to the wood grain effect. DecoupageNapkins.com has such a great selection of rice papers as well as napkins that you can purchase one at a time. Rub-on transfers, molds, modeling clay, stencils, stamps, scrapbook paper, and much more. Over 6,500 products. They carry 3 lines of paint: Dixie Belle chalk mineral paint, clay mud paint, and pentart paints in a wide range of colors. They are wonderful to work with and send out their orders fast. They offer several automatic discounts when checking out on orders over $50, $75, and $125. Subscribe to their newsletter by entering your email address, and you'll receive 10% off your next order. Make sure you check them out. I'll leave you some links in my description box below. I decided to add a little of the brown paint at the top and bottom too. I think the image will make a better transition that way. But I need to soften the lines between the white and brown. I'm going to sponge some of the white paint to blur those lines. If you're enjoying this video, please let me know by hitting that like button. And why not share this with a friend? Thanks for doing that. Look at this gorgeous rice paper. I got this from my friends at DecoupageNapkins.com. I'm only going to use the top portion of this amazing paper, but you can bet I'm going to save those roses for another project. I'm getting the paper prepped by tearing it to size. I removed part of the top and part of the bottom. I also removed the white edges on both sides. I used a water brush to wet the paper before tearing it. You can find this Make It Easy on Yourself tool listed in my description box below in my favorite tools section. When decoupaging, it's always best to tear the rice paper or napkin. A torn edge is much easier to blend than a sharp cut edge. I'm using Polyvine Decorator's Varnish as my decoupage glue. It honestly works so much better than Mod Podge. This product is very impressive, and I've been using it quite a bit lately. It works great as a varnish and a decoupage glue. This formula is somewhat heat and water resistant. There are several formulas and some are highly heat and water resistant. Polyvine is also UV resistant, so you can feel free to put your creations in sunlight without fear of fading. And this amazing product can be found at DecoupageNapkins.com. I'm spraying the rice paper with some water. Water makes the paper more pliable and easier to work with. It also helps the glue seep into the paper for a stronger hold. I'm using a piece of plastic I cut from a Ziploc bag to smooth out the rice paper, so there are no wrinkles or air bubbles. I lightly brushed a coat of the Polyvine over the image, paying close attention to the edges. I let it dry for about 60 minutes. After it dried, I added a coat of Polyvine Heavy Duty Wood Varnish to the whole thing. This formula is highly heat and water resistant. Since this is going in a kitchen, it's a better choice. And you can also use this formula as decoupage glue. I've tried it and it works beautifully. I'm using the satin finish, but it's also available in matte. I actually just love all the Polyvine products, and all of them can be found at my favorite place, DecoupageNapkins.com. This is a wax rub called Soot. It's great for adding some grunge to your projects. I have some little areas that I'm adding it, so I'm using a paintbrush. It will actually stain your brush, so I have a dedicated brush I use just for this. I'm putting it on and then wiping it off. It'll stay in any cracks or crevices. I also rubbed some along the edges of the board for a distressed and old look. And this great product is available at DecoupageNapkins.com. I let that dry for about 30 minutes, and now I'm giving the top just a quick sanding with a really fine grit sandpaper. I want the top to be really shiny and flawless. I'm adding another coat of heavy duty wood varnish, and I'll let that dry for about 30 minutes. Polyvine dries really fast, which is great for me. I have no patience. Where are you watching from? Let me know in the comments. It's fun to see what cities and countries you are all watching from. I'm filming from Las Vegas, Nevada in the United States. I got this metal trim from Dollar Tree such a long time ago, and I thought it would be absolutely perfect for this project. I'm gluing it around the edges with my hot glue gun. I'm seaming it in the front because I'm going to put a little sign in the front, which we're going to make next. I decided to give the metal a little bit of a warmer glow, so I'm adding some white gold metallic wax rub all the way around. I love the way it toned down the metal. It gave it more of a vintage look. You can find metallic wax rubs in so many different colors at decoupagenapkins.com. I'm using some Delight clay, which also came from decoupagenapkins.com, to make a little sign for the front of the riser. I rolled out a small piece in an oblong shape. Once I got it to the size I wanted, I ripped off some of the edges to make it look ragged, and then slightly rolled up the edges. Now I'll let that dry overnight. I want this clay piece to look like tin and match the metal trim I already put on the riser. I'm starting off with the paint color tin, giving it a full coat of paint and letting it dry for about 30 minutes. The clay is a little warped right now because I rolled it so thin, but it'll lay flat again once it's painted and glued. If you'd like to be notified anytime I upload a new video, click the bell. The next step is mixing some texture sand with a little bit of the tin paint. I'm not brushing it on all over, just here and there. This step helps with the aged look. It'll need to dry for about 30 minutes. I'm mixing a little bit of Vintage Effect Black Wash with a little bit of water. I'm brushing it over the entire piece and making sure to get it in all the crevices. This is pretty cool. It's a translucent black, so it doesn't give you full coverage at all. I'm making sure to get all the edges and at the very top on the back. I use this product quite a bit for certain effects. This needs to dry for about 30 minutes as well. I'm doing the same thing with Vintage Effect in white, mixing with water and then brushing it all over. I dabbed a little bit of it off where it looked too heavy. I made sure to get it on top of where I rolled the clay. The white is also translucent. Did you notice how nice the clay is laying flat now? The moisture from the paint made the clay relax and lay flat. I added a little bit of the white straight from the bottle here and there to give it a good accent. I'm working on some great projects for the upcoming weeks. I'll be doing some decoupage, more 3D air dry clay, and mason jar decorating. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss any of them. I gave the piece a coat of Polyvine heavy duty wood varnish and let it dry for about 30 minutes. I gave it a quick rub with some of the white gold metallic rub so it would match the metal trim. The white gold rub changes the tone of the tin color and just warms it up a little bit. Have you ever seen such beautiful rice paper? This is a metallic line of rice papers available at decoupagenapkins.com. I'm going to use the gold to cut out some wording. Well, actually, my Cricut machine cut it out. Since there's a bottle of wine in my picture, I'm going to add the word le vin to our little clay piece. This means wine in French. My plan for this project was going to be Tuscany, but the wording on the rice paper I chose is in French. So there you go. It's now a French project. I'm using some of the Polyvine heavy duty wood varnish to glue the wording to the clay piece. I actually ended up tracing around the wording with a fine point black Sharpie. Sorry I didn't get that on film. I marked the center of the metal trim with some masking tape and glued my little sign to the center of the front. I decided the sign needed some dirtying up, so here comes the soot. I brushed it on and then wiped off the excess. I love the way it looks now. I put together a playlist of some other tutorials you may enjoy. Click the picture on the right to be taken directly to that playlist. Thanks so much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to subscribe by clicking my picture in the top right corner so you don't miss any future videos.